Hey everyone, today we're going to be continuing our series on the best openings for chess beginners. Today we're going to be looking at a very aggressive opening as white that has a very good score, and black has to know the theory very well, otherwise you can get crushed very quickly, while white has more options and just has to know the plans in general, not all the time, but most of the time, in order to have a good position. So this opening starts with e4, c5. This is in defense. Note that on the first move, black's four most common options are e6, e5, c6, and c5. c5 being the absolute most popular. So here we continue with knight c3, which is already the second most popular move. The main line is knight f3, but we go knight c3. And you know, each deviation we take, each sideline we take, usually our opponents will be less and less familiar with this, with the openings we're going into. So knight c6, other move is d6, it will transpose mostly, and now we go f4. So this is the start of the Grand-Prix attack. Again, very aggressive. Black usually here responds with g6 because he wants to fianchetto the bishop, putting the bishop on g7 or one of these four squares is called fianchettoing the bishop. So black does this because white, with the last move f4, has weakened some dark squares, and so black is taking advantage of that immediately. So knight f3, bishop g7, and bishop c4. Again, here there are a couple moves. There's bishop b5, there is d3, there is g3. But I like this move, bishop c4, and that's what I'm going to be recommending. Here black has two main options to play, d6 or e6. Believe it or not, it makes a whole lot of difference. We're gonna look at d6, which again could have been originated through a couple moves ago, d6. Castles, e6, d3, and knight e7. Black usually doesn't put his knight on f6 in this opening because it can get kicked around very easily with e5. So that's usually not a good idea. Knight e7, and now here comes the first sort of odd move, which is queen e1. So in order to understand this move, we must understand what our plans are and what our opponent's plans are. So this opening again is very aggressive, and we are going to be wanting to organize a quick assault on black's king once he castles, which he's going to do. So our queen wants to come to the king's side, where it can take part in the action. Another point of this opening is that we want to greatly control the d5 square. So if you can imagine this pawn not existing, white would have a huge advantage just because he's got so much control over d5. And so that justifies our next move after castles, which is f5. A very good move already, the most played move in the League Chess database, also in Masters games. The point of this move again is to soften black's structure. If e takes f5, which is the most played move by non-masters, is a very bad move because there's not even a concrete line that just wins for white, but in general, it's very bad to give white this control over d5. Here, there's actually a very cool sequence, not 100% forced, but queen h4, so we continue our plan. We don't even bother taking back, because black would just take back as well. So queen h4, we bring our queen closer to the enemy's king. And if they keep on taking, we can go knight g5, which is a very good move, and white here already is completely winning. Because we're threatening mate, and we're also threatening this f7 square. Notice how we have three pieces attacking it, they only have two defending. So they cannot defend both at the same time. So h6, for example, to stop mate, we have knight takes f7. After rook takes,
Check.
bishop takes, king h7, knight takes c4. White is completely winning. So as you can see, this came from a very seemingly slow attack, and it quickly unraveled to a checkmate. So now let's look at a line where black plays a little bit better, or much better. This is from a game between two grandmasters, very strong grandmasters. One of them was playing with the white pieces. Nigel Short is an English grandmaster who was at his peak number 3 in the world. His opponent also a top 10 player. at the time. And so we reach the same position, f5. Now here, e takes f5, as I said, is very bad. Black has two main moves. One is g takes f5, which, again, looks risky, and it's white's point to gambit this pawn, because he is opening up the g file, which is not good for black's king safety. And after queen h4 or queen g3, it's still just a lot of complications can arise. And the other main move, which was played in this game, is d5. So black reacts to this attack by countering in the center, which is very principled. And we go bishop b3. Now notice how we always want to have control over the d5 square. Also, when you sacrifice this pawn on f5, we need to have a pawn defending it, not because we want to recapture, but because we don't want to allow, for example, the knight to take on f5. So here, we never take on d5, we go bishop b3. And now, again, there's some moves for black. In this game, this idea of c4 was played, which is interesting. And black is sort of counter-gambiting a pawn. So after we take, black's main idea, or most popular idea, is to take on e4. And after, for example, knight takes, they take on f5 with something, with the pawn or the knight. And the material is even. White still, I believe, has very good chances, even confirmed by the database. But it is another way to play. In this game, black played d4, which is also an interesting approach. And here, there's already some moves we have to know, but these moves again, these sorts of ideas appear in many different lines in the Grand-Prix, not only in this specific line, so you don't have to memorize this, but you have to be aware of this idea. So black is attacking our knight. We don't lose time with that, because if we go knight e2, for example, black already is ready to take on f5. And notice how now we don't have control over the d5 square, so our play is unfounded. So we must go f6, which is a very, very good move. The point is to distract black's pieces for some time. So if they take our knight, we take their bishop, which is very good for us because we're removing defenders around the king. So they must take, and now we go e5. We keep on gaining time in this bishop, on this bishop, and we don't move our knight. So in this game, bishop g7 is played, and knight e4. So this pawn, as in the London system, which I covered in the last video, this pawn serves white a big purpose because it holds a grip in black's position, most notably on these two squares, which gives white a whole lot of potential to attack. So black must get rid of this pawn. So notice how we are, let me see, so 4, 6 to 3, 7, we're a pawn down, but we have just tremendous compensation. And actually, the database shows that from League Chess games or from Master games, this has a tremendous score for white, which means from this position, white won a lot of times, much more than black. So bishop g5 is a very good move, a very thematic move in these positions. We want to pin this knight, put pressure, and also we're threatening maybe knight f6 check, which in this position actually would be winning straight away. So black must react with f5, which looks, again, a little bit risky, opening up the king, but okay. Black still has a lot of pawns. So how do we continue? There's a very good move here for white. The other one's not so good. This move is queen h4. Again, there are small details like this that white must know. Obviously, it's not just a free win for white, but if white knows these little details, I think he can get a very, very promising position. This opening the Grand Prix attack is played by players of all calibers. Even at Masters level, it's played relatively often. So queen h4, the idea is that if they take our knight, we take theirs on e7, and we have a crushing attack there. So they must go rook f7, protecting it.
Check.
But after knight f6 check, they must remove the knight, so there's a trade on f6. After queen f8, we can take on d4. After knight c6, we drop the bishop back. And Nigel Short went on to win this ending. White here has the bishop pair, which is very good in open positions. Remember, bishops work very well in open positions, much better than the knights. Also, white has an open file to work with. And and just has a very comfortable advantage overall. So it took him some more 40 moves, but eventually white won this game. So again, let's just go back to how this opening goes. e4, c5, knight c3, excuse me, knight c6. We go f4 before going knight f3. They usually fianchetto. Knight f3, bishop g7, bishop c4, d6, castles, e6, d3, knight g7, queen e1, castles, and f5. A great pawn sacrifice by white. So I hope you learned something today, and be sure to try this opening and let me know how it went in the comments. Peace out, see you next video.